Together with Gosia Smieszek, I contributed to co-leading the chapter on gender and environment, which builds on a, a great number of existing reports and literature at the nexus of gender and environment globally. A focus on the Arctic has been missing to date, and our hope was that this chapter would help provide a holistic overview of the literature and the research that is already out there and bring it all together as a snapshot for our readers. It also builds on efforts within the Arctic Council and the Sustainable Development Working Group in some of their previous reporting on the participation of women in natural resources extraction as well as in fisheries.
What we found really interesting was that over the last decade, and especially since the adoption of Agenda 2030 in 2015, there has been a rapidly growing recognition of importance of gender and environment nexus. Most of all, what we have seen is that today, major global environmental conventions, such as those on persistent organic pollutants, mercury, conservation of biodiversity, and many others, they all contain now provisions meant to advance understanding of gender and environment, but also how to advance gender equality.
Our chapter covers a wide range of issue areas, including smaller case studies focused on different parts of the Arctic, dependent on where the issues are most prominent. We focus on international environmental frameworks that cut across different states in the Arctic. We look at gender and climate change, gender and the management of natural resources. This includes mining, forestry, oil and gas extraction, renewable energy in the Arctic. Gosia, what was one of our most important findings?
One of the most important findings that actually corresponded with the same conclusion from other chapters in the report, it concerned lack of sex and gender disaggregated data when it comes to gender and environment in the region. One of the most important consequences of this lack of sex and gender disaggregated data in the region is that because many of the industries in the region are based on natural resources, they have been also traditionally male dominated. And without proper understanding, without data on roles and contributions of women to those industries, we cannot really understand the full range of consequences that those developments have in the region. Tahnee, what kind of solutions did we highlight in our chapter?
The solutions that we highlighted were twofold. First, we suggested that research institutions and governments focus on gender and gathering gender disaggregated and sex disaggregated data in order to provide a more holistic understanding. We know that moving forward, the environment is going to change significantly, especially in the Arctic. And without an understanding of what it looks like today, it will be very difficult for us to effectively move forward without leaving anyone behind. And another solution that we suggested was that gender be mainstreamed into the work of the Arctic Council, including its working groups, as well as across Arctic states.
In addition, paying attention to gender and gender equality is particularly important as we are looking now at the expansion of and growth of new sectors in the Arctic. So we have now increasing discussion about the possibilities of green shift, green development in the region. We have seen massive investments in renewable energy in the region. There is an increased focus on blue economy and aquaculture. So all sectors from which Arctic communities could really develop. However, in this context, it is extremely important that we do pay attention to gender so that rather than perpetuating inequalities that we have seen in the economy that we have had thus far, we would be able to actually address those issues and create sustainable development that would be not only inclusive, but also equitable so that all members and groups of Arctic societies and communities could benefit from those.
My favorite part of working on this chapter was looking at all of the global reports that exist on gender and environment, which I've been reading for a very long time, and trying to understand how different things are in the Arctic. And that although many of the Arctic countries are considered to be highly developed when it comes to gender, when it comes to environment, there's so little data that it's actually quite difficult to make a fair assessment of where we're at right now. And having conversations with people and trying to grasp the dearth of actual understanding that's out there.
My favorite part of working on this report was based on interviews that we conducted. So oftentimes we were reaching to persons with really on the ground experience of working with projects and equality issues that they have experienced in their work. It was really insightful to learn from those persons. And oftentimes they were bringing aspects to our work that we originally had not considered, or that were not that well covered or reported in the mainstream literature. So I think that was definitely one of the most enriching and insightful parts. I think there were two quite striking takeaways. One of them was actually something that you already partly mentioned, so that there is, over the last decade, there has been an increasing number of studies of gender and environment in other parts of the world. Pretty much what we have seen is that inclusion and accounting for gender and gender equality is now a standard part of most of the projects being carried out in other regions of the world. So in this sense, it was striking that we do not see to the same extent in the Arctic.
We are all a part of our environment. It includes our air, it includes our water, it includes the food that we eat. And anybody who reads this report will be able to understand the importance of environment to our daily lives. And everybody interacts with the environment differently. And that's why it's so important to have an understanding of the environment that includes everyone's perspectives. Gender is multifaceted and people's experiences are multifaceted. And we can't create good policy unless we have an understanding of that.